You mentioned, you didn't say Martha Karua. You said Martha Njoka. Now, the switch from Martha Njoka to Martha Karua was because of something that happened in Parliament. Okay, in the campaigns, yes. And again, it's what men say, or what a group of people were saying about you because of your marital status. They were bringing your personal life into your work life. Explain the challenges of that, and how can somebody who's here, you were divorced at the time, and that's what they were trying to throw out there as saying, how on earth can she lead because of this elephant in the room?
It is still thrown up to this day. There's a time, Maina Kageni had this show. I didn't listen to it, but I got to know of it on Twitter, whether Kenya is ready for a female president, and he goes on that I'm not married. So I just tweeted and asked him, how dare he discuss me without asking me, and whether he himself was married. The rest he got from Kenyans. I just needed to throw the first stone, and the matter was settled. And now I'm seeing not many people dare to repeat those words. So you see, there are two standards, the female standard and the male standard. So when my candidature came, the talk was that she is not married, she can't lead. She is this, she can't read. She can't hold her home together. She can't lead. That kind of thing. So it became a big issue. I never used to answer it because, you see, it's supposed to distract you from your campaign. So I would go on to explain to people why I think I'm the best candidate. And as I am finishing, I'll refer to it not as relating to me, but a thing being said about women. You know, and remind them that the job I'm seeking is performed by only one person, the person seeking it. And I tell them, the last MP you had, you never asked him about his wife, yet he was unable to perform the job. When you go to the bank to apply for the loan, if you find a lady manager, you don't ask about her husband or whether she's married. You apply for the loan. In school, you are taking your son. The head teacher is female. You'd never inquire about her home. So I'm asking them, is it only this one job you are asking for more than you should? Then I say, ask me if I'm qualified. And I'll go on now to tell them why I think I'm qualified. So I decided, since it was such a big deal, why not show my constituents a little bit of style? I've been elected as Martha Njoka. We are being sworn in the third week of January because elections were December those days, end of December. So I'm being sworn in third week of January. I quickly went back to my law office, did a deed poll for change of name, followed it up to ensure it was gazetted, and took to the Speaker of Parliament and told him, here is my change of name gazette. So I'm going to be sworn in as Martha Karua. So I was sworn in as Martha Karua, having campaigned as Martha Njoka. I then changed my practice because I still had my law practice. I reserved the name Martha Karua, and the practice I wrote to the Law Society, appended the Gazette notice, and my practice became Martha Karua. There are people who thought that that will affect me because the name is very well known. And my answer was, it's me who made the name well known. This one will be also well known. The transition was not so difficult. I would go to the constituency. My children are in tow, they were quite small. So I introduced them and I would say, this is Wawera Njoka and Edward Njoka, for the simple reason that their father is. The congregation will finish just like you are about to finish. They'll say Njoka. Then I tell them from now on, you will refer to me as Martha Karua, for the simple reason that my father is Kwisha. Kwani story nyingi ni za nini? Only one time in court, because I was also doing court in the mornings. I go to court, and my good friend, Judge Aluoch, in a very packed court, says, she addresses me, and I knew she knew that I have changed name. But she addresses me, "Oh, Mrs. Njoka," saying very loudly. So I told her, "Judge, that was last year. The name is Martha Karua." So the laughter turned back on her, not on me. And I had no other encounter. Because indeed, that used to be my name, but it was the previous year. Yeah, you got to ask somebody new year what their name is. Just turn it into a joke, and that was that. It was an easy transition, and I was very vocal in Parliament. So every evening, they are hearing member for Geshogo by the name Martha Karua. So it was okay, yeah.
You've mentioned your children, your 2 children. At the transition, there's a point where you literally almost had 3 children, because you left, stopped being a magistrate and started this new child called entrepreneurship, which is your practice. There are many entrepreneurs in the room. When I asked people to fill in the questionnaire, one of the things that I found out is the number of entrepreneurs in the room today. You were balancing that with becoming a new mother, and you literally went to court 4 days after having a child. Explain to me juggling this. And at the same time, you had recently become single at that time. So it was difficult.
You know, going into new practice coincided with my life alone with my children, because then I had the ability to get accommodation for myself. As a magistrate earning 3,000, it was difficult for me to get a house and fend for my children. So I leave the job of magistrate in July of 87. And I decide I'm leaving Joka's house and I get my own house. I'm now practicing, maybe charging for application for bail 5,000, which is more than my whole month's salary. So I'm able to pledge out. And I'm 7 months pregnant. Was it 7? No, it wasn't 7, because I got my baby. I was pregnant. It wasn't even showing a lot, because I get my baby the following January. So when my baby came in January 3, my practice is speaking, and I'm a sole practitioner. And I get this client on phone. I'm told from my office that there's somebody who wants me to apply for bail. I accept. I'm at home. It's the 4th day. And you know, nobody will pay you money if you don't show up in court. So I decide I'm going to court. I'm living at the State House Crescent, and the case is in Kibera. I didn't want to drive. I had a friend of mine. She came to drive me. And I go to Kibera. But before I go, I have called, because my last station was Kibera, so I know the executive officer. I call and I tell them, I'm going to court 1. Please, on this file, let the magistrate know I have a 4-day-old baby. The only favor I'm seeking, immediately I appear in court, let him please call my file so that I apply for bail and go. So that's what I did. He happened to have been an old classmate of mine, law classmate of mine. And when he saw me entering through the packed court door, Kibera courts are very packed. I think the horror he felt, he immediately called my file as I'm approaching. And I applied for bail. My client got bail, and I left. And that meant 5,000 in my pocket. And I went to look after my baby. Yeah. Let me say, extraordinary circumstances call for extraordinary measures. That meant that my maternity leave, in quotes, if you can call it, I was at home. dashing to the office here and now whenever it is necessary to do what I have to do to get it going. Yeah.
Wow. Do what you have to do to get it going. I want to switch a bit. When the people you're working or leading with, they start shifting away from the values that you stand for, how have you handled this situation?
CTA with Ken, video 9.
The conversation continues. I'm sad because I heard him say 2020. Normally when it's 2020, I feel like the plane now is beginning to descend. But the conversation is still strong. I want to ask you about the people. You know, I've been talking to you as the leader, but I want to find out about the people who've led you. Of course, I'm going to ask about the famous ones, the ones everybody knows, but I'm sure there are even others who you can say have had a positive impact on your life. First, I want to start with Dr. Chris Kirubi.
Yeah, so that's quite far ahead of me, but we had interactions because of real estate and Vipingo, and his way of entrepreneurship, and he sat on the board. So we had a number of interactions and guidance on what to do, how to invest. But that entrepreneurial seed or thought and the branding, and to even go international and get some qualifications, or just an emulation of him. And it would of course come every day. When guys are sat in the office, everyone who worked there would know what is new.
That's what he would ask you.
Yeah, everyone, what is new? What are you doing? And then you'd also, what else? You used to ask a number of questions, and you needed to know, to have some sort of answers to
You can't
give.
just be quiet.
No, you can't be quiet, and you are given an opportunity to speak and an opportunity to articulate what you can do.
Wow.
Yeah.
You just walk into on a random day and ask you, what is new?
Yeah, you have to have something. That's what I remember.
I mean, you remember it from the perspective of even you had to talk. You
have to talk. But even when I was running Vipingo as the MD, I used to give him updates.
You know, I went to his house, and this was after he had come back from the US. When I did the interview with Pius. So, I mean, it's Chris Kirubi. We're doing the interview at 9. We arrive an hour early. We're not about to
to mess
up this. But then we sat down while he offered us. He sent somebody to offer us tea. But this was what was blowing my mind. He was on the phone. I'll never forget, he was asking to be read the report that was going to be printed in the newspaper from Hako Industry. The thank you message for December.
Yeah.
And I found that incredible. And I had him say, no, for that one, change it to this. I was like, how hands-on are you? And the reason why I'm asking you this is, what is the balance between micromanagement and involvement? Because you're telling me he was involved even asking you about Vipingo.
There is no micromanagement. You're sharing the big picture and what is being done, and where the business is going. There's what operational things, those are your own.
Yeah.
And now you're taught how to think. How to think like a business person, how to think like an investor.
Don't start telling him the workers haven't come to work.
Those are your personal problems.
He wants to know about, I am thinking of adding a new block because the demand is high.
Yes, so you say, okay, from what we can see, we can do another block. This is the return. This is how we plan to do it. And then you're given a yes or no, why you're doing it, how it can be made better.
Wow.
How you can provide customers with value. Yeah.
And
how
it
will
never
be
thought
long
of.
term. Yeah. Because some of all these things, these guys have done them before for many years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. You also spoke at his memorial.
Yes.
Like that's how much he meant to you.
Yes, if you are there, everyone was, actually it's a small ecosystem, so everyone was able to interact with him.
Okay.
Yeah.
You know, from the outside, he's the myth, the legend. He was a superstar. But also, I was also very impressed by how down to earth he was for a billionaire. Very touchable.
And I think most of them are like that.
Okay, let me ask you then about Moria, because you probably interact with him very often now.
Yes.
How is he?
I
mean, I know you can't be like, I hate that guy. It's not like
no, he's granted me this opportunity.
Yeah.
Spotted my talent, granted me the best you can, given me access to the world and to make a difference. So is like 99%, let me say 95% of what I am is courtesy of the opportunities is granted. You'd have said no. Maybe it would have been easy to hire a CEO in other projects. You'd have sent someone else in Uganda. You'd have hired someone who has come from Harvard, not to take one there for training.
Yeah.
So by granting those opportunities to me and others who I work with, is created many warriors. Will make, and there are many others who will make a difference and create a legacy.
Yeah.
So if you asked a man who was there in Centum from 2000 to 2025, you can find the impact. So the results can be 100,000 page book written by, there's a chapter for Ken Bai, but everyone, Raphael, there are many. So that would be like 1,000 page book.
Wow.
Yeah.
What's his leadership style towards you?
Okay, first pushes me to the maximum limit. I think he has more expectations than I can, so pushing you to be the best. Teaching you how to think, and proper thinking, how to think properly, how to package opportunities, how to imagine. You see, every idea, everything that is in this world was an idea in someone's mind. So you have to imagine what it can be. Before it's first, it is.
Bro,
so you must,
said something so powerful.
You must imagine what it can be. You manifest it in your mind. You believe in it. Then you start executing. One way or another, the world will converge and help you achieve that vision, whatever it is. Two Rivers was an idea in his head. Vipingo is the one who did the acquisition. It was an idea in his head. Graduate trainee programs or ideas in his head. So you have to imagine what it can be first in your head and be convinced it can, and then take steps to actualize it. Now, when you conceived this program, you never thought a boy from Nanyuki will sit here.
An MD for Nanyuki.
Yes. And others that great
actually,
people
to be honest,
here.
even when I said 100 leaders, you're the fourth that I'm doing. It means that I have to do one every 3 days. But you're here.
Yeah, they'll come.
But you get what I mean?
Yes, and there'll be another one here tomorrow.
Yes, you're here, and for me, I'm like, as you're telling me right now, you've got to imagine and believe it.
Yeah.
I actually believe that it will happen. And seeing you, I'm like, okay, you're not lying when what you're telling me. But I like what you said. He has taught you to imagine.
Yes.
So imagining is something that you need to teach yourself to do.
Yes.
Anyone can imagine.
Yeah, everyone has a brain. If you put it into use, you can imagine anything. And then now because you have the brain, you can you can dream. And the imagination is the factory of what the possibilities, what it can be. And then now you start. You convince yourself you're that drive, persistency, and you start. Then it will happen. So when we do these things, most of them, the imagination and the drive, if I was able to achieve 5% of what I think, I would be too far.
That's amazing.
Yeah. But that has been taught.
There's something that you said, he pushes you. Again, I think of the young people watching this.
Yeah.
Some of them can think the pushing to be toxic, a toxic environment. That's a word that is thrown out a lot. And I do agree, some of these things are toxic. But somebody pushing you doesn't mean that everything they're pushing you is toxic. It just means that maybe they've seen their capacity within you and are trying to stretch you. When you say he pushes you, already you sound like you push yourself so much.
Yes, and so like now here is a phone. There is Mauria's missed call. There is his WhatsApp. So so he has to, and you have to. The guy, if you are the top, you don't want someone who is on 17th floor to come to 16. You want him to move to 18. The person at the basement, they are already down. You can't push them any further. You want them to come to first floor or ground floor. So if you have someone who is at the basement, pushing them, they are really down. They can't go any further. If they're in basement 4, you need to nurture them to come to basement 3, 2, 1, and they'll go up. If you're on 19th floor, you cannot allow this person to come to 18th because it's harder to go up. And if they come to 18th, it's easier for them to come to 17 than it is to go to 20th. And if they were to get to 20th, they need to go 3 other levels. So you must sustain the momentum.
And okay.
My own thinking, I don't know if that is
No,
and
you're thinking, I like it.
Yeah.
My question then is, as I do this leadership series, I'm trying to figure out, is it possible to balance family and leadership? Or does one have to suffer? And is that suffering my lack of understanding of the opportunities that have then been created because of this? Do you get what I'm trying to say? For example, if you become a leader, does that mean now family will not happen? Can you be a leader, MD, and a father?
Yes. First, you're human. Start there. You're first human. The basic component of that humanity is your family, either nucleus or extended. So the foundation of your success is anchored on your family. You have to have a solid family for you to be successful in leadership. Now, you can't come to work when there are austerities at home and be productive. You have to communicate so effectively that the family understands they're also part of the leadership. So part of MD of St. Ambri is the extension of my family because 40% of the time, 50%, I'm with them. So whatever the influence, I should come to the office refreshed to support the growth. So they are part of the MD's level. So they know when I have to go, they are supporting my role. Maybe that communication with your wife and with your kids, they understand it so that they are concerned. When they pass by and they can see the project is not under construction, they are more concerned than you. Why? What is this? What are you doing?
So communication.
You have to communicate. You have to communicate with that clarity, but I first insist that pay attention to family. If family is okay, your work and leadership will be fine. If family is not okay, your leadership will be wobbly. In a few moments, it will show that there is a problem.
And you have your other family. As much as you've got this nuclear family, you've got your work family.
Yes.
There are people who, I've not been speaking to you. I've been speaking to the people who handle your program, people who are in your marketing, people who, so those are another, because you spend almost as much time with them, sometimes even more than you do with your family. What does that dynamic entail now in this level?
So that's the organization culture, the way we do things at St. Ambri. Do your people wake up on Monday and feel this is the worst thing that happened in my life? I don't want to go to that place. Or do they wake up on Monday and they feel like it's a Friday? Because where I'm going, I'm nurtured, my ideas are accepted, I'm pushed to be better than I am, I'm happy to arrive. So you create an environment that people are happy to come to. And you have your set of values, right? You may say, we are allergic to non-performance. If you are not performing, we are allergic to it. It's not something we can allow. And you cannot stay here in peace if you're not doing well. If you're doing very well, we celebrate and we'll support you. So people know up front that we like hard work, dedication, getting things done, having fewer excuses is what is nurtured. Then they will enjoy the environment, and we are human, we work as a team. You may not be the best boss to everyone, but if you're good to 60%, it's okay. The organization will thrive. And I tend to believe maybe that's the environment we've created.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Are there any projects outside of Kenya that you're currently working on? Throughout this whole story, I've only heard you mention Uganda. Are there previously any that have been done, and currently are there any being done? Or in the future, are there any you're planning on doing?
Yes, this business is Pan-African. Today we're in Kenya and Uganda. But we can't remain. That's like remaining in primary school. We need to go to high school. So we'll move to other African countries, and we need to move to campus. So we must be in sub-Saharan Africa. Yeah. So it's a path of growth.
And is that something that you can talk about now, or it's in the pipeline?
It's in the pipeline.
Okay.
But the ambition, and that has been communicated many times, we need to be in everywhere, because the housing challenge opportunity in Nairobi is the same in Dar es Salaam, in Congo,
in Zambia.
It's the same.
Yeah.
So the lessons around here can be replicated. You just customize them to the local environment.
Yeah.
And you've seen Kenyan businesses have expanded to other markets and done very well. We can.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's then land this plane. As we go into 2022, anything that you want to share? 22 all the way until 2025.
Yeah, so now I came back from Vipingo. I was the COO in Santa Maria. Then the boss left. Then I was given the opportunity to run the company. But we were to pay. There was a bond, a 3 billion bond that was maturing in 2023. So we needed to have the money. I think part of why my hair has gone away. Thank God I'd been married.
Wait. Ascentam?
Yeah.
Ascentam Re?
Yes.
You got 3 billion worth of investors' money?
A bond that was raised and listed on Nairobi Securities Exchange. So it needed to be, it had gotten to maturity.
Yeah.
He sold his business to L'Oreal?
Yes, I'm the one who did that.
And okay.
Yeah.
Just think of how many companies have been, first of all, acquired in Kenya.
Yeah.
And
that was one of the
I know
first.
the story of his business. I mean, like, he started ground up.
Oh no, if you listen to his story, and he tells his story and everything else, the guy started by selling eye pencils to salons along Moktadada Street, whatever that street is. You'd go and sit there at the reception, convince the receptionist, take an eye pencil. Can you sell that lady? She's just coming out of the dryer. Give her another eye pencil. That is how he started his business.
Wow.
And then he moved on to the shampoo. He'd ask the lady, what are they doing? What is that stuff they're putting in their hair? And then you say, where do you get it from? Then you go to the guy and then say, I'm going to bring it. And then he looks at it. He figured, how does it get made? Then he started, taking it, remixing it, diluting and putting his own label and selling. I mean, the man is an entrepreneur to get it to the size that it was. So now, I had to reopen then the conversation with him, go and reach out to him. First thing he tells me, those people that came, they abused me. What do they think they are? I'm a businessman. You think I haven't grown this business to what it is? I said, yeah, okay. Okay, but now this is me. I'm a fellow Kenyan. Let's talk. Can we talk? Yeah. So we spent a year negotiating with him.
A year? The emotional connection to his business is like, no?
Yeah, I had to spend a year following him, negotiating, understanding, getting to understand valuations of business. How do you value a business? What it is. But in his head, I think he had a number he wanted. He would not move for a particular number. But then I have to go back to Paris, go and sit with Paris, and this is going to be the number. They're like, hell no. When we look at the numbers, this is X out of the ballpark of what we should be paying for the size of the business. I said, but you have to put a value to the emotional connection to all those things of the brand, and that is not something we learned about. You have to understand there is that as well.
This guy is,
and we need this. And I sit down and say, we've done our projections for us to turn around this business. What you're going to put in over the next 3 years, and you're not even going to get anywhere to develop whatever. It's the same amount. You might as well pay this chap, and then it fast tracks the trajectory of the business. So every day I'll never forget. I'll be calling them in London. Okay. Can we go up a little bit more? No. We give you cup. We give you the cup. No more is in that. And I'm like, okay, I go back.
And would you come and ask him to go down?
And then we go, he says no. And then he disappears on me. He stops picking my calls because you're not whatever.
You're not on my side, you.
But eventually we agreed. When we got a number and I agreed, he told me, I'll never forget that day. Till now, I remember that day when he said, fine. And I called back, I said, guys, this is the number. We give this number, we close the deal. And I said, okay. I give it to him. The guy said, fine, but and then I think after he started thinking, and I said, but you have to sign now, agree in principle.
Yes.
But he said, if they agreed like that, maybe I should have asked for more.
You're like, no, we're not about
No. So it was the best, I think, for me. That was a crowning moment. Because for many things, it did so many different things. It made a statement for me that a local business could be validated, could be seen. And all the work, starting from him lying at Uhuru Park every day, to one day having a multinational.
What do you mean lying at Uhuru Park?
That's what he used to do. He used to come from Dagoretti. He comes, he looks for work, he doesn't get any work. Instead of going all the way back, you just now lie to Uhuru Park, you go back and see what else is there. That's why now you'd wander salon, see what is going on. Because he says part of the thing about lying when people do those things is you're trying to hear where the opportunities are. Because the people lying there will tell you, is there a mujengo here? Is there something here? Is there something new? That's why you're there. When you go back to a Dagoretti there with you're going to wind up people with alcohol and drugs and you just go into whatever. I think that's how he managed to stay out of that. Yeah, his story is incredible.
No, that story
his story is amazing. And then to the mkokoteni, when he grew to the next stage of the mkokoteni. So I sat down and I tell these guys, for the guy to be at this stage with these products, selling this amount, there's no price. And that's why he can tell you he can continue. If he's brought it this far, he can take you to the next stage. So we had to find another emotional hook. And part of that emotional hook, imagine you're going to go international. You from Uhuru Park to international.
Did he remain with equity?
No, he didn't. We bought 100%.
Okay.
But I needed him to hang around and hold my hand for because a merger, the merger was complex in that I've got a team of very posh people selling very posh products, and I've got guys who are selling really mta. I'm telling you, these are the subtle things you don't realize. These are the guys who knew the businesses. These guys knew how to sell. They knew how to were down to. But he run it like a low margin business, which is what you need in Africa. So one of the biggest things, the team I had for the L'Oreal, the ones I brought on, I'd gone to Simba, we had negotiating. The sales guy had a Prado, the other guy had what is this the second tier of a 4-wheel, what is it called? Of the Toyota car, what is it called? The 4-wheeler. RAV4. They had RAV4s. Now his guys had Pro Boxes.
Whoa. Now
we're going to merge and sit in one place. How is this sales guy with a Pro Box going to be next to the one with a RAV4? It doesn't work. So we had to figure out.
Wow.
Now, but when you convert all of them into RAV4s, the issue is then the model that he had was not going to work because these are lower margin, lower value products. So it was good fun anyway.
So no, but like, what do you do in a situation like that? Like literally, we're talking here and here.
Oh, the hours we spent trying to figure out stuff. What are you going to do? I still have those spreadsheets. I remember some of those spreadsheets. I look at them sometimes just to ask myself, was I mad? Was it, those spreadsheets, looking at stuff and saying, how are we going to bring people closer together? How are we going to merge? How are we going to move to the same office? Because now we're in posh old Nana Road, in a lovely office there, where we all used to be with places to go and eat next door. Now you're coming to Mombasa Road. And in my head, I'm like, Mombasa Road, I'm going to get to Mombasa Road because that's where he had the factory and everything else. But we had to be there. We had to be one.
Yeah.
Right?
And I mean, you can't up and lift the factory.
And so even the food, the factory, the canteen, we had to adjust. We're going to be eating Friday, treat was dengu and chapo. But the rest of the week, you have gideri, you have whatever is available. We can't start having now you having sandwich.
There's
no sandwich. There's no sandwich. Yeah. So those are some of the. So anyway, that was good. I think for me it was a crowning moment.
So how long?
I said in my career.
Yeah, that one.
The acquisition was a crowning piece for me because I make it sound easy afterwards, but it was not. And I look back and even now it feels kind of, but if you were to tell me step by step, how did we get there? I cannot tell you. I mean, I can tell you, I can see it, I feel it, I know it, but it was
Wow.
You know, in fact, I look at some of the pictures that time. The only thing is I was so fat. I keep saying I can't share them. But I was so stressed half the time. So I sit down and I'm like, don't laugh. It's so funny. It's less sandwich. The sandwich. And my CFO was brilliant. He's the one who first actually started introducing me to wine.
Yeah.
And to understand wine, because he loved his wine. Till now, actually, he's got a beautiful winery thing in the south of France. When he retired, that's what he runs. Michel, who was my CFO.
Yeah.
So he even had, we agreed he'll bring a little wine thing in the office. So he'd show me wines. He'd teach me what is wine.
Yeah.
This is good. This is bad. But just like, they all taste the same. But, okay, so eventually I got it.
Yeah.
My palate improved. My palate improved. I became
a connoisseur.
I started to align all these things and everything else.
Crazy.
No, but it was good fun.
No,
it was
but
good fun.
like,
but after that, to be honest, I was tired.
I can imagine.
I was mentally. I tell people, if anybody asks what's the meaning of burnt out, after 3.5 years, I was burnt out. And I understood what burnt out is, because in the 25 years, up until that time that I had worked, the longest leave I'd ever taken was maternity.
Wow.
Which was 60 days, those days each.
And it's got its own work.
And it's a mental, the whatever, and you look at the pace, the things you've done, the travel, the this, you're always either on a plane, you're either thinking, you're either doing that. I was burnt out. That's why I say I was overweight, my skin was horrible. I mean, when I look at pictures of that time, I realize the impact of stress, which you really underestimate. And when I made the decision, I said, I'm going to take time out. It was one of the hardest decisions, because I have to go. First, I have to internalize myself that I can do it, that I could take time out, that I acknowledge I'm burnt out. I need time out. But then to go home, you're the person who's always been out and about and doing, to say you're doing what? You're packing it in. How? What are you going to do? How? You're going to survive.
You've just been in the house.
Yes. How? What are you going to do? How are you going to survive? But the biggest thing also for me was sitting down and saying, but maybe this is going to be the test. Because people have always known you as the person who's done this or person who's doing that. I asked myself, am I still going to exist? And this is the biggest power I tell people about who you are in your life. I told you I write 2 CVs, what I do and who I am.
Yes.
And that's the time I started saying, this is what's going to allow me to discover who I am, not what I do.
Wow.
I want people to know me for who I am, not what I do. Because I'd always been, so Patricia VABL. Oh, you're the one of VABL. Oh, Patricia, and the old ones. Oh, you are the misca. You are not you. You know, you're always something associated with something. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So what year do you take rest?
Back end of 2014, I decided, okay, enough, right? And I take a break, and I say, okay, I'm going to take a break. Let me have a year out. And it was also perfect, because it coincided also with my children wanting to go to college. And I sat down and said, here's a problem here. They're gone. Once they go to college, they're going to be gone. I've been working all my life in and out. Although I've had tons of quality time with them, I've never really, there's always, when we'd go on holidays, they'd take my phone and lock it in the safe in their room. And I sit down and I say, come on, you guys, you can't do that. I said, no, you can't. No, Mom, we're on holiday. You're not going to be on your phone. I say, but what about Pa? How come Papa's, you're not taking his phone? Oh, but you're a mom. That was always the response. You are a mom. And I think that's one thing I've always understood, that whatever you do, if you're a mom, you'll always be a mom. Because I'm telling them, you can't do this, girls. Why are you taking my phone and you're not taking your father's? But you're a mom. Okay. And they'd keep it. And we'd negotiate. And they'd say, we're going to give it to you. Tell me what are the times you need your phone. So I'd get my phone at night. And I'd get it till about 8 in the morning, 9 in the morning. Yeah. So I'd check any messages, anything to approve. And I'll tell people, I'm only online until 9. And I'll be back again.
It's like
at 4 o'clock. Okay? So you guys get with it. They'd lock it in the safe in their room or in a suitcase and not give it to me.
Wow.
Yeah. So, and that's what I started to realize. I think when we were going to college, I was like, you know what? You do need to connect with each other. They are going away. And then that's the time the eldest one I'd taken her on a trip thinking she's going to go to England. They're all very bright girls. I'm like, oh, took her to Oxford to try and immerse. I was doing an Oxford program there. I said, let's go together. So they see it and they said, we hate it.
Oh.
I said, sorry? This is it. What do you mean? This is a dream. Live the dream, man. I'm not going to. Nope. Hate it. Okay. So what do you want? To go to America? Where? Who goes to America? Do you know how far that is?
Wow.
And that's when I realized. Then you go to the school and you realize they didn't have a system to take children to the US. They gear them to British curriculum, British kind of system. English, either you can go to Canada, you go to England. If you don't get into England, you can go to Canada. And at worst, you can go to Australia.
Yep.
That's what the States, they had no idea. Didn't know how to begin. So for me, also taking that break was an opportunity, because then I started to figure out, what is it going to take? What is the process of application? How do they do these things? I was sat. And in my head, I kept saying, I can't have children who could wind up in the top-notch UK schools going to North Dakota University or something like that. I mean, why? Why would you do that? And that's what I did. So I spent the time investigating, looking, going them to places, taking where they can coach, they can build their skill on SAT and everything else. So that's what I did in that year.
Wow.
And that's why they were able to do that, because then I could be with them, right? I was there, I'd follow them. I'd go to this guy in Tanzania, we'd sit coaching. Let's look at your essays. What are you going to write? How are you going to do that? But then after about a year and a bit, I'm twitching.
Wait, how was that gap period for your marriage?
It's fine. I mean, my husband kind of gave me a space in his office. which I used to go to. I went and got myself a beautiful red couch. I did my coaching certification. I said I was going to coach.
Nice.
That's what I did, my coaching certification. So I had the couch, so I could get people sit and do coaching. And it was, hey, and then I'd disappear for a bit. I come back. I come to the office. Where's my couch? He's taken it to his office. I'm like, what is this? You could have bought your own couch. This is my couch. You gave me this space. Now, how come it's in your office? It never left, by the way.
So the twitching started in end of 2015.
Yeah, so then I did that. And then I realized I needed to get back. But I also realized maybe not get back into corporate just yet. Because I'd always told myself I want to do something around impact for a while.
Can I ask this?
Yeah.
Don't have to answer. And I know you. Please, it would be nice if you answered this.
Yeah.
For you to take a gap year means that you've sorted some financial systems in your life.
Yeah.
Had you? Is
Yes, I did that. Oh, yes. I told you I'm independent.
Oh.
The calculations every single month to the end. I'm not reckless. As an individual, I've never been reckless.
I know a lot of people who are in corporate Kenya who live beyond their means. Meaning, it doesn't matter if you're earning 1.1 million shillings a life. You're living on 1.5.
I was very clear. I'm a very insecure person from that perspective. I've told you, independence. So I would never be reckless. I will, even if you want to beat me out of a job now and do whatever, I will hold on to it if I'm not ready. I'm not the kind. That's why I'm shocked when I see people walking out of something out of emotion. I say, but you're going to wake up the next day.
That's true.
You're going to wake up the next day. Go away, walk out, don't say anything. It's also when I did my emotional intelligence training, where they tell you, you have to learn, never react. Reaction is the worst thing that you have to do. So even if somebody upsets you, go and type that email. Use every single thing on the keyboard. Right? Exclamation, question marks, you name it. But don't put the name of the person. Because you might hit send by mistake. Yes. Right? And just do all that so it vents. So you allow yourself to get it out.
Release.
Let it out. Leave it. Wow. And then leave it. And then come back the next day. Wow. Look at it. You're going to look and say, gosh, okay.
Thank God I didn't hit send.
I didn't hit send. So I've always been.
So you must have a lot of emails in your draft, eh?
Yeah, I used to have many drafts. But the older you get, the calmer you become. Okay. Now I just write in bed, like, oh, God, who's this, that. And then I become calm and I'm like, okay, now, end game. Look at your end game. Always, what is your end game? What are you trying to achieve? What do you want to do? And so I did that. And I said, but I always wanted to do something around impact. because also I recognize going back into a high challenge commercial role with numbers every day and whatever, these girls were going to be very far away. I needed to be able to jump on a plane or do whatever and be next to them. So again, when Stanford, something sent to me about Stanford and I apply, the Stanford Seed Program.
Yeah.
I said, this is straight up my alley.
They
were looking for
sent
somebody
to be
yes,
part of it.
yes. So somebody just tells me, Patricia, this is something I think you'd be very good to go and meet the guy. They're in town. So I go and meet the guy, talk to them, meet a few others. Then I get the job to be the regional director for the accelerator program. And it was perfect for me. First of all, it's connecting to the school, which my daughter has just gone to.
Yes.
Which is to university she's just gone to.
That's
I was
serendipity.
connecting to the US. I needed a connection to the US because I needed, if they were going to be in the US, I need to be going to the US often. So now I've got an employer who's right up my street. It was perfect. So now when I go, whatever, do the month or whatever, the summer, when I'd have to go and do stuff there, it was perfect because I'd be with my daughter, right?
Wow.
Yeah.
What exactly was your role in that? Were you getting startups within Kenya?
So the Stanford is an accelerator. So again, something I launched. Now I'd gotten to this act of being the only person and starting something. Now I'd gotten used to that. I loved it. I started saying, actually, this is quite a bit of fun. Being a startup chick is not a bad thing. It's not a bad thing. So, it's like riding a bike. Now, you know how to ride the bike. So same thing, started. They had some crazy guy who they gave me, some American guy who was supposed absolute wacko. He used to talk to a cat. And he said the cat used to talk back to him. I just told the guys, you need to send him back. I'm not sitting here with a guy who talks to a cat and telling me the cat came and he was speaking to him. But a very interesting character. That guy was not okay. I'm sorry if I may say so.
Is not your CFO at this time?
No, he's not CFO. When I started Seed, he's a guy who they'd sent to kind of help look, because they had a lot of these volunteers.
The Juju of Kenya
they had a lot of all these volunteer people who come in. So then now I had to set up, then launch the program and have the launch event and all those type of things. So he was a kind of guy who was kind of connecting, and then they put him around to kind of help, because he was available. He could come and help. He's staying up the road and he's saying, okay, he's the one who identified the service office, So he had done a few things beforehand in terms of what he needed to do. But I'd hang around him and he'd kind of be, I don't think you need to do this. And then I realized this guy thinks he's going to come here and start telling me, that expertise.
Yes.
But the biggest thing is you're talking to a cat. And you're saying, so the cat came and, it talked to me. I said, what did it say? I just read to them. I said, I'm sorry, guys. It's not going to work. We don't talk to cats here. We don't have conversation. So then set up the accelerator. It was a fantastic accelerator program because the way it worked is you recruit businesses across the patch, right? And they go through a 1-year transformation program.
We continue with the conversation with Pastor Muriithi Wanjau, the senior pastor of Mavuno Church. If you're catching us here, tafadhali do yourself a favor. Don't just get excited because of the title or the description that you read or because somebody shared this to you. Go and start from the first video so that you can understand the journey in its fullness. Okay, Pastor M, let me ask now. So let's talk now about, and this one this one I am craving it, because it's the transition of a church. What I mean is, for example, from the internal and from everybody, and now this is where per se the visionary walks alone and has to have people follow them. From moving from Bellevue to not just one church plant, Mavuno Downtown, or two, Mavuno Downtown and Mashariki, but to suddenly you are sending people to 10 different countries. And on top of that, your base church, where everybody knew Mavuno is in this place, is being moved to a place where the demographic who are per se the core are like, bana, is this real? Is this really God? And now it maybe even be internally, guys are like, no, I'm not going with this guy. Explain to us this next phase of Mavuno. that went from Bellevue to Athi River and everything else that has happened till then.
Yeah.
And even for you, because I'm sure now you're in a different, that time, seasons
Different
now.
season.
Yes.
Yeah. You know, it's a very interesting one because sometimes the success of your past can limit your future. And I think as a leader, you just need to get that, that the things we create our institutions and our institutions control us. And it's very easy to create something that becomes a monster, and it was never what God intended. The great example is in the book of Acts, where this beautiful church, it's growing rapidly. The pastors are the guys who followed Jesus. So imagine having a pastor who doesn't need to read the Bible. He was with the Bible himself. He was with Jesus himself. He just tells you, when you ask him, what does God expect? He says, no, the way Jesus said it was. I mean, it's like, who doesn't want to go to that church? Huh? And the church was really growing, but it was doing so well that God actually sent a persecution. That's what the book of Acts says. He sent a persecution to scatter that church. Because God's intention was never for this one thing to just stay and be beautiful. God's intention was for this thing to spread and change the world. The vision behind Mavuno was never to become this beautiful, nice church that everybody talks about.
That's changing the city from one location.
Yeah, it was supposed to be this thing that goes out. The Bible says the salt of the earth. Salt doesn't influence from one part of the food. It has to be scattered in every part of the food. So I feel like God took us through that transition.
Yeah, that's deep.
And
That's deep.
and it was painful. I mean, because it's always nicer to be together. Huh? But I remember what happened for us. The way God did that for us is we got to the place where we were so successful, and I put that in quotes, that we didn't have to do outreach anymore. We didn't have to reach the target group anymore. People came to you because you are the cool church. And not even the target group, not even people who don't like church. Even people who are in church now, you've become cool enough that they're willing to come and just come and almost be entertained. And I'm not even criticizing people here, but I'm just saying we got to a place where even we stopped loving the people God called us to love. Because it became about us. Very easy for that to happen. Huh? And I don't think we saw it coming. I don't even think it was something that we deliberately worked at. In fact, I even saw it in retrospect many years later that I was like, that's what was going on over there. Because like back in the early days, I mean, we really spent hours just thinking, how do we reach these guys? Where do we go to reach them? How do we be radical to reach them?
Remember going to Carnival.
Yeah, go to Carnival, do a gig, invite guys to church, and people actually come, you know. But at Bellevue, we didn't have to go to Carnival. We were Carnival, you know what I mean? It's like people come, so it's almost even your heart for inviting dies. It's almost like, let's just preach now. And you become a regular church without knowing you become a regular church. Just a few bells and whistles. And so I feel like what ended up happening is God brought a persecution. And part of the persecution was the venue could not work anymore. 2 reasons. We couldn't get into an agreement with the landlord that actually made sense. But number 2, we outgrew the venue as well. And it was, I mean, the venue still had space to grow within, but the traffic was insane.
Yeah.
Like it would take an hour and a half sometimes to leave church because of cars just backed up. And so I knew something was going to give. But secondly, I also knew we could get kicked out of this place anytime. We didn't have a long-term lease and we just couldn't get one. So we looked for a venue for years, finally found one. The only venue we could find was like far in Athi River. And everything in Nairobi was insanely priced. But I also didn't want a vision. I didn't have a vision of buying an acre and then putting up a block. I really felt we need at least 20 acres at the minimum. And for me, the reason is because I thought the church needs to be the center of society. It needs to have enough recreational facilities, facilities that actually impact the neighborhood. Beyond just being a place of worship, it has to become a center of life. And so for me, I really challenged, I mean, I was pushing our guys, find me that 20 acres. Find me at least, I mean, in fact, my hope was even 30 acres. Nairobi, man, an acre was... I remember going to Upper Awards and being shown an acre with a small building on it for about 1 billion shillings. And I was like, this is insane. It's not even good stewardship. So when we finally found the place in Athi River, I knew in my heart, this is going to be a hard sell. It's going to be hard to move this church there. We did move. I mean, it was insane. We had to raise something like 350 million shillings to buy that land, to put up the facilities that were on it. But the distance was hard for people. The terrain was hard spiritually. There's something about an environment that can actually be spiritually oppressive. And the place we went had an environment that was spiritually oppressive. And we didn't even know. It took us a few years to discover that was what was going on and to learn how to deal with it spiritually. So in that process, there was a scattering. And a lot of Mavuno people went to other churches, went to different places. But I look back now and I'm like, that was the best thing that could have happened to us. Because if it didn't, we never would have become who we are today. Back in the day, if I told people it's time for you to go to Karua West and start a church, you guys would have cried. It's like, how do I leave this place? I mean, you guys are punishing. Why me? You know. But I think what happened when we moved to Hill Cities, we actually got to a place where people actually thought, going to another place is not a bad idea at all. And it's like God just began to give us a new missionary spirit, even among our staff team. So long and short of the story is we got to a place where we didn't have the resources we had before because the numbers had gone down, and also we had huge costs with our facility. We didn't have, it's almost like the difference between moving from being a renter to being an owner. People always say, I want to own my own house. Owning a house has its complications. You need to know there's joy of ownership, but there's also responsibility now. You can't just walk away because you're like, I don't like that clock on the wall. Why isn't this guy painting? I'm off. It's your house. You don't have to choose for painting, you live in it, you know. And so we got into that space that was very hard. We could hardly keep the lights on. I mean, it was work. It just became work.
How do you as a leader keep sane in that time?
I mean, I know I sound like a broken record on this one, but purpose is everything. Huh? Just understanding this is what God is calling us to. It wasn't a coincidence that we're here. It wasn't, I didn't come here because an opportunity opened up. I'm here because God wants us here. And this is a platform we're going to change the world from. So as much as it hurt, I mean, yeah, some people, you've poured into them and they walk away. And they're not walking away because they don't like you anymore. It's just, you're asking us to do too much here. I mean, like, you're asking me to travel, 20 kilometers to church on a Sunday. I mean, that's work. So you see that, and one part of you really moans and grieves. But the other part is like, you're seeing the rebirth. I think God kept my eye on the bigger picture. There's something happening here. We no longer had the resources to do the big, nice things. But then you start learning, actually, you can do things without the big, nice things. There's some other things you can do that are even more useful and more important. And it's about people. It's more about people than anything else. So I feel an evolution has happened. A huge transition has happened. It's one of the biggest things that I've ever experienced. Just from Bellevue to Hill City, in the last 5 years, there's been such a shift in our thinking, shift in our values, shift in our culture. And we moved from a place where it wasn't all about, but we moved from a place where the cool factor drove everything to the place where the mission drove everything. The cool factor is always a tool. It's never the thing that drives. And I feel like what has happened in this season is we've moved to a missionary space. So our people finally get it, that my goodness, this is a responsibility we have. There are people dying all over the continent. We need to get the church to them. We need to get to a place where people actually, who don't like church across Africa, across the world, are actually getting into church. I mean, recently, one of our young ladies in our church, who is a marketer, a really gifted person, came and told me, I really want to go to South Korea and help Mavuno start a church there. And you're like, this would never have happened in Bellevue. There's a young guy who's on his way now to Thailand to help start a Mavuno there. This would never have happened in Bellevue. We've got churches in Thika, in Nakuru. This would never have happened in Bellevue. So I feel like what has happened now is we've morphed from being this very, it's almost like you have a gravitational pull where people are coming to you, to where God wants it to be, which is you have a push and you're sending people out. It wasn't an easy transition. I must be honest, it was the hardest thing I've ever done. If I've ever felt like quitting, I think that was it. When you know what God is saying, but it's painful. It takes pain, it's painful. One of my leadership mentors, and having mentors, by the way, has been very useful in this season. One of my leadership mentors said it very well for me. He said, leadership is pain management. And to the extent that you will grow as a leader is to the extent that your ability to manage pain will grow. So if you don't want pain, then leadership is not for you. So it was almost like, are you ready for this? If you don't want the heat, stay out of the kitchen, Yeah. And so it was almost like, I need to learn. You read the Bible, there's no leader who doesn't go through immense amounts of pain to get to the vision God is calling them to. And it's not because God wants you to feel pain. It's because the things that you want will only achieve through breaking through some serious mountains. There's a story about David in the Bible where he takes his guys to war, and then while they're at war, their wives and children are raided by some raiders. So they come back home and they find your wives have gone, your children have gone, your things have been stolen. And the Bible says the men turned against David and wanted to stone him. I mean, this is your commander. This is a guy who's led you all these years faithfully. But now something has gone wrong. The first thing is you want to kill your leader. You want to take him out.
Yeah.
And that's leadership. You know, people who you even rescued from wherever, they're looking at you and saying, it's because of you that this is happening, that we're all going through pain. So as a leader, the Bible says David encouraged himself in the Lord. And I think many times at that point, I just had to go to God and say, okay, God, you have to be the one to carry me. It's heavy. It's too heavy for one person.
How did this affect your relationship with your wife? Did this affect your relationship with your kids?
No. And again, I think that's one of the decisions we made a very long time ago. That one, we talk about everything. You know, we handle with my wife. We always discuss what we do with Carol. And so she walked this process, understanding what I was going through. I think she could see the pain I was going through, but she was always there supporting and saying, yeah, we have to go through this. It's necessary pain. We've always had the value of we're home at least 4 nights a week with the kids. We have dinner with them, we pray with them. It's just one of those things, regardless of how busy we get. And so again, that has kept us connected with our kids. So in terms of family, that has been an immense support. I think also there were some core people at Mavuno who got what we were going through. And God just brought the right people at the right time to just support, be with, encourage. And that's what kept, you can't do this thing alone. Leadership is hard.
That's why I'm dwelling on this question.
You need perspective. So you can't be alone. I mean, and I think I always say, if you've not led, it's very easy to be a critic because you don't understand the pain of leadership. I think for me, because of what I've been through, I'm always empathetic with leaders. When I see a leader watching up or I see a leader not doing what they should do as well, I'm the first person to say, man, that's a horrible decision, but I feel you. I can see why you'd go into that. You'd make a mistake like that. Because leadership is not easy. And I think you just need to understand that. You just need to experience it to understand that. So
it's not also theory.
And it's not theory.
Yeah.
It's having hard conversations. It's seeing things not happen the way you want them to happen. It's negotiating. It's praying. It's almost giving up at some points and seeing God bring the right life. It's understanding how to lead people, how to be, to keep the vision in front of people, even when you're even beginning to wonder, are we really going to see light here? But to be able to say, okay, I'm standing on God's word. God's word says we're going the right way, guys. We're going. God will take us through this. And inside you're like, okay, God, you better take us through this. I know your word is right because it has to be right, but I could die before we see this promised land.
One of the things that I want to commend you for is on going to Athi River is, I remember you always used to say, guys, the city is coming. The city is going to be there, there's going to be buildings, there's going to be malls. And I'm like, yeah, whatever, man. I can see how empty that road is. What are you saying?
With wind flowing through.
How much dust is irritating us,
It's a desert,
But now, 5 years on, when at time you could see the tent, I don't know from how far, you can't see the tent. Because it's just surrounded by apartments, there's malls, the road being made, the SGR. And seeing that and then understanding all of these people now have a church to go to that has a passion to change their lives for Christ and find their purpose. It's amazing. But I look and I can say, that guy heard from God.
You haven't even seen anything yet. I mean, we're not even in the middle, the middle of that transformation. I mean, right now, there's probably just around the church, there's probably about 3,500 apartments that have people. But a time is coming when there'll probably be 12,000, 13,000. That's actually Langata. That area is going to be a densely populated area. The highways are opening up. I think part of it also, maybe some retrospect came from having, when you're a little older and you've seen how rapidly things are changing, you have a different perspective. So I can tell this area is going to change dramatically. And already even now I can tell it's not even begun to change. There's going to be, with the highways, the way they're being done, I was talking to one of my friends whose dad lives, actually I was talking to his dad who lives in Nairobi West. They have a house there that they put up a home that they lived in, and then now they've put up apartments, but the dad still stays there. And he was telling us when he moved to Nairobi West, it was next to the game park. It was actually the Wild West, Nairobi West. It was like it's lions that are roaming at night. You stay in your house. It was Rongai. It was Kitengela. Nobody existed beyond them. After them, it was the airport. And how when they moved there, everybody thought they were crazy. You know, it's insane. Why would you move there? And now, how it's like you can't put up your apartments fast enough because it's like right in town.
Yeah.
That's what's going to happen to our city. Athi River will actually be right in town. It'll be in the center of the town. And it's, again, travel is good, exposure is good, because I think I was able to see that. I've been to places in Nigeria, I've been to places in the States that really remind me of where we are right now. And you can see in retrospect what happened, that somebody had the vision to actually be there in time for everybody else to come around them. We own 20 acres of prime land in a phenomenal, I mean, it's like owning 20 acres of prime land in Langata. Who owns that?
Yeah.
Nobody does. And so I feel like churches have to be bold. And it's not just churches, it's leaders, it's corporates. We have to be bold and not just think about the market today, but think about where do you need to be in the next 5-10 years and what do you need to do now to get there. So, and that's the hardest work of leadership, because the easiest thing is when you've struggled through, like now we've struggled through, you're being vindicated. The easiest thing now is to settle and to say, yes, now we reap.
Yeah.
As opposed to saying, hold on a minute. What about when this is outstripped? What's the next step? Where do we need to be going? I mean, right now we have a plan. We're already strategizing about how we're going to spread Mavuno movement in Asia and in America and in Europe. And we even have picked, even the people who are going, we know.
Yeah.
And already we're dreaming, you know, because we're thinking, okay, this is where we are right now, but this is not where we're going to be in the next 10 years. So let's start preparing our people now so that when that happens, they're ready for it. So the work of leadership is never being where people are. People live in the present, leaders live in the future. And I think that's one of the things I was taught by Bishop Oscar, and I'm privileged to have had mentors who help me learn those things.
Let me ask again, another difficult one as a leader. When your core, when you lose members of your core, how then are you able, how then, what do you do? How do you get new people into the core? How do you, you know?
It's a great question.
You've lost guys who started, left with you.
Yeah.
You get. And by lost, I don't mean drama. I mean, they no longer are your...
They serve in other churches.
Exactly.
Yeah. I think one is perspective. First of all, if I've ever raised somebody who is serving somewhere and they're serving, I'm so excited. In fact, the worst thing is I find you go to another church and you're doing nothing there. Then I'm like, guy, was the investment wasted? You know. So first of all is understanding God's kingdom it's huge. And we never lose people. And by the way, this is thinking, I know I don't want to sound like a church pastor on this one. This is because I'm also an entrepreneur. Even in business, you need to think like this. The biggest businesses think like this. That's why Price Waterhouse, they take interns every year from university, and after 2-3 years, they release them. They can't keep all of them. They can't keep promoting them. They're taking them for a few and then scattering them. Why? Because if you go and work for industry, go and work for Coke, it means that we have somebody with our DNA working in that corporate now, who will always be a link for us. So the first thing is perspective of just being able to say, okay, as you lose people, if you release them well, as opposed to losing them, then you have ambassadors. But I think a bigger one is, and this is a lesson I've learned both in church and outside church in entrepreneurship, that nobody is indispensable. Yeah, including me. Nobody's indispensable. If this thing is of God, Mavuno will continue long after I'm gone. And that's one of the reasons why you'll never see me positioning myself as bigger than Mavuno. Mavuno will always be bigger. This is what God is about. Muriithi is a tool. When he's gone, the people need to be able to take this thing and run with it. And that's what God has called us to. So understanding that allows me to be able to say, I never hold on or idolize anybody. This thing is bigger than any human being. And we have to build institutions that can outlive anybody. Because as long as it's identified with me and my gifting and my skill, then it's limited to me and my gifting and my skill. And so I think what I've found is, and I remember when I started our first business, Karua and I, our first real serious business that we ran, and one of our, because a production business, and
weddings.
Yes, we used to do a lot of wedding videos. We had one of the first digital communication companies that actually did video and things for weddings. And at that point, I still remember the first guy, one of the most valuable employees, coming and giving us a resignation, and you just feel like you've been kicked in the cojones. I mean, it's crazy. You're like, what do I do? It's finished. We close this business. And then just going back to God and praying and saying, God, what do we do? And God just saying, keep on. You find someone. And then actually finding, you know what? The guy who was under him, who you didn't think much of, actually had been observing and actually learned. And then saying, okay, it was my fault. I learned now. I didn't create systems to train young leaders all the time. And then saying, okay, now we'll always have a system to train young leaders. So there'll never be anybody who will hold this company to ransom. So I feel like that's something we've always had a strong leadership development track at Mavuno. Any business we run, we try and create a leadership development track so that you're always training people and making the thing bigger than anyone. So I don't want to sound like this corporate guru who has all these things answered. There's a human side of every leader that bleeds when your friend leaves, when somebody that you thought would stay with you long term goes somewhere else. There's something in you that just feels pain. But I think you have to keep the main thing, and then to realize, it even helps me realize, I need to create systems so that Mavuno is not dependent on me. Just this last week, I was meeting with my executive team, and I had my if I die talk. You know, like if I was to die tomorrow, and my wife is not here, if we're in a plane, which we're going to be soon, and something happens to that plane, who's taking over? And we had the talk. And I think every leader has to be able to have that talk with your family, so that you've got your legacy planned out. Because again, you don't want to hold this thing that you go and then the church collapses. That means it was never Jesus' church, it was your church. So it's almost saying, how do I create systems all the time that this thing is handed over? And when a leader comes and tells me I'm going, when they honor me enough to tell me that, it's to also realize I cannot hold you. Your destiny is bigger than me. And so how do I launch you? You know, I always say either you launch or you lose. So if Richard comes and tells me, Pastor M, it's been real, I've enjoyed being at Mavuno, but I need to go, then for me it's to say, okay, how can I bless you as you leave? And then two, how can we stay connected? Because your gifts are still going to be a blessing to me wherever you're going. So I think that for me has been the way I've learned to manage it.
Oh, that is wisdom galore. In this season right now, so now we've talked about 0 to 10, 10 to 20, 20 to 30,
Yeah.
30 to 40. What's the takeout?
So my season now, because you remember the 30s to mid 40s, you're building. You're focused. You're just
Head down,
Yeah,
grinding.
your head down, you're grinding, you're building that organization, that business, that NGO, that enterprise, that cause, whatever it is that God has called you to live.
Yeah.
The next season is a season of multiplication. It's just basically you're propagating the vision. So what you want to do now is to say, you are created, the first command that God gave people in Genesis is be fruitful, which I think is what being that building thing, you're building that fruitful thing, multiply and fill the earth. So I feel like this season now is when multiplication is happening. And so my big role in my season now, because that's the season I'm in, the season of propagation, and we talk about that in the book. In the season of propagation, your role is to multiply the results of the thing you've built. And so for me, I feel like my contribution and the contribution of Mavuno is creating a church for people who don't like church. It's creating a factory for world changers. It's creating a place where agents are created, people who go into the society, discover their purpose, and change wherever it is that they've been put in. It's too big of a vision to be bound to one space. It needs to affect a generation. It needs to multiply and fill the earth. And so in this season, my job is to multiply it. So I'm really focused on, hey, we're doing a lot of leadership development. We're doing standards.
You're writing a book.
I'm writing a book now. So I'm writing the story, because a lot of the stuff we have is oral, our culture, our DNA. So it's almost like we have to start formalizing, putting things in place. So that when we start a church in Lusaka, it's clear what this movement is about. They're not guessing it. So we're putting in a lot of that right now, and that's what my wife Karua and I are involved a lot in doing right now. We travel a lot, we spend time with leaders, we look for resources for those leaders. I'm no longer leading a church, so I stepped down from leading Mavuno Hill City a couple of years ago, and the reason is because I can't continue leading that and then leading the movement. And that's why right now we're 20 churches, but by the end of this year we'll be 30 churches. And the reason is because I'm now the catalyst to multiplication. Before we grew like this, but I feel like if I do this season right, the growth goes to this level, because now I'm the coach. And my senior pastors, my lead pastors, if you want to call it my CEOs, they all have somebody rooting for them, cheering them, somebody more experienced who's coaching them and helping them make the decisions they need to make.
Opening doors as well.
Opening doors for them. And that's what my role is now. So it's an interesting role, I'll be honest, because if you don't get it, you end up stifling your leaders. You get? If I don't understand that that's the role I'm in, there's something prestigious about being the pastor of Mavuno. You know, the guy who runs the big church, the guy who has people coming to him every time when he preaches and says, Pastor, you've changed my life, you know. So I had to give that up to somebody else. And of course, sometimes when I visit those churches now,
I have no idea who you are.
Some guys don't even know who I am, you know. Or if they know me impersonally.
Yes.
They give their love to their pastor. For me, they give me hash, you know, respect. But love is nice, you know. So
you're human, hey?
The human in you is like, man, I want to be the guy. And I think that's what creates the Mugabes, if I want to put it that way. With all due respect, huh? I mean, he was a great man in his time. But I feel like what ruins great leaders is the place of not understanding there's another season for them ahead. Had I stayed on and just held on to Mavuno and leading the church, what happens is your young people start feeling God wants them to go somewhere else because they're not feeling any space to breathe. Huh? But by releasing, what's begun to happen is my young guys all have space. By the way, anybody who's a leader in Mavuno right now, there's more than enough work. In fact, the guys told me, I want your job. I'm like, please take it, because when you take it, I have more things to do.
Yeah.
And I feel like if even our politicians would understand that, our statesmen, Mandela became larger than life because he released the presidency of South Africa, not because he held on to
When
it.
they even begged him to stay.
When they begged him to stay, he was like, there are
One time
bigger
out.
things, you know. And I feel like that's what happens. You become bigger than life when you understand the next stage and you release that. Now you become the coach for the guy who's there as you're helping open doors in other ways. So that's what this season is about. So we're seeing a lot of expansion. We're seeing a lot of opportunities. Because I'm no longer mired in management, I'm able to be a coach and spend a lot more time with my guys and my leaders, my guys and girls. And so I feel like the momentum is building. It's a hidden momentum. It's not the loud momentum that we had at Bellevue, but it's a much greater momentum.
Yeah,
it's a much
It's
greater
like
momentum.
it's sniperish. It's effective, deadly effective and silent.
And I mean, it's exciting to go to different countries. I was in Kampala the other day, and to meet a guy who, I mean, the dude, when he told me his story, he owns a bar. He was that guy. You know, he was the guy who would be drunk all the time, would be hitting on other women in front of his wife. And now he's leading our marriage. He's one of the leaders of our marriage ministry in Kampala. And Kampala is now planted 3 different Mavuno churches. It's not just one church anymore. And it's like, yes, this is what's happening. And those churches are all reaching. It's not, you know, you say church, it's not a building. It's a group of people, radical people who are reaching people who don't like church.
Yep.
You know, I'm going to Kigali very soon. There's a church there that I want to go and visit. I mean, again, they're doing the same thing. They're about to plant another church. I'm going to Kinshasa before the end of this year. Just spend time with Freddie there. And again, it's the same thing. Just seeing, and it's not people talking, they're Mavuno, but they're not us. Because these are guys leading in their language, they're doing their metaphors in their thing. It's fun because they have the DNA, but it's completely them.
Yeah.
It's their culture, it's their people.
It's like a business leader. It's okay, so proper, he's just good. He's trying to do business as best as he can. But now the culture of Mavuno has infiltrated his business to teach him that there's more than just profit that you're doing.
Those are some of the other hidden effects. I mean, it's not just the churches. It's like you're seeing people now who are radical business people, who are politicians, out of these churches, who are starting NGOs because their lives are being transformed. They all have that Mavuno story. I mean, I was talking to a guy in Kampala who was an alcoholic, thoroughly. I mean, one of those guys who's been given up. You've been taken abroad you've been taken to all the special schools by your rich parents, and they've given up on you. Gives his life to Christ, and now he's running an initiative that is changing the whole country with just asking people not to drink, you know, and giving young people opportunities to learn about sobriety. I mean, you look at that and you're saying, if this church didn't exist, these things wouldn't be happening. And it's not just happening now in one place, it's happening in many, many spaces. So my hope is in the next 10 years, actually in the next 7, because I'm already into this season, that by the time we're leaving this season, that we will have Mavuno churches across the whole of Africa. and that we'll even be entering into some of these other continents and getting ready to infiltrate these other continents, because that's what the gospel of Jesus is meant to be.
Yeah.
For too long, I think as Africans, we've seen ourselves as recipients. People come to help us. But I feel like it's time for the African to realize we're the ones to help the rest of the world. We have something God has given us unique that is a blessing, and we too have something we can contribute. We can go into those countries and actually bring hope and blessing to them and raise up their young people and show them that they too have hope and they can become influencers. So my joy and my vision is to see a movement across the whole world of radical people who are not content to just stay in church and worship, but who are like, I'm here to reach guys who don't like going to church and turn them into agents who change their societies and in their countries. So that's kind of what drives me and keeps me going in this season. So my wife and I, we mirror each other. So we are both in that stage now. So we're doing a lot of travel together. And now we've got pastors who are single, who are married, who are young, who are old. And I mean, for me, that's what it is. Africa is how old? They say Africa is the youngest continent in the world.
Yep.
And many of our countries like Uganda, the median age is 15.
Yep.
We're baby countries. So we need young pastors. We need to be raising young leaders who are passionate about changing their countries. And so for me, I feel like what God has called me to do is start a movement that changes the world.
2 questions before we end this.
Yeah.
We can talk here for 2 days.
Yeah.
One, the African church, the Kenyan. Actually, I'll even put it to the Kenyan church. Is there hope with all that's happening?
Yeah.
And just to be real and raw, there looks like there's a lot happening within the church. And by church, I'm talking about now the building and the Mavunos and the Sitams and the places where when you say go to church, what people are thinking. Is there a shift? Is there any hope in the institution? Let's actually start with that out, and I'll ask my final question.